Hello and welcome to another episode of TechGig podcast. I am your host, Supriya Devanshi. Fintech has a vital role to play, providing a digital toolbox for companies in the BFI sector to thrive. Most companies are migrating to these digital tools to make them more efficient and error-free. Let us consider a recent study by JP Morgan Chase and Goldman Sachs, who states that there are now technology firms, and according to Goldman Sachs, until 2017, almost half of their job postings, that is like 47% to be precise, were for tech talents. Fintech today converts, a lot of financial activities and starting from money transfers, applying for credit, and raising money for a business. It stretches to checks, deposits using a smartphone, and managing investments. Out of every three people uses technology to avail themselves of at least two of these technological, services. Career opportunities have also increased in the manifold as we see the technological progress in the fintech. As a person, you can look at the various roles that leads to this sector, and people are tapping their talent pool according to the demands in the market. Today in this podcast conversation, I'm going to talk about the opportunities, career paths, and the salary, the growth that you tech professionals can look at in the fintech industry. And to do this, I have with me S. Anand, who is the Chief Executive Officer and the co-founder of PaySprint. Welcome to the show, Anand.
Thanks a lot, Sukriti, for having me here. I think it's been a great one to talk to you. And Sukriti, I think it's been a year since we went live. We launched this company, fintech called PaySprint. And I strongly believe that India is in the cusp of a digital revolution, especially in the banking space. And we strongly believe our vision is to empower millions of people into API banking, digital banking as we call it as. And we're quite excited about it. And we're looking forward to really take up this journey and create many digital bankers across India. So I think that's where we are, and we're quite excited about it.
Thanks, Anand, and thank you for being here with us on the show. Let's get started with the question. So, tell me, Anand, what are the key growth functions in the fintech today for the tech developers?
Sukriti, I mean, if you really look at, the fintech space especially, right? And I strongly believe that, three things have really defined how digital banking in the fintech space is today. And we call it as JAM. JAM means Jandan account. Close to 90% of Indians today have bank accounts. You have Aadhaar card. More than 1 billion people have Aadhaar card, and let's say you have mobile penetration, which is about close to about 700, 800 million people. And with this change, what has happened is finance and technology, which were two different aspects, have come together to really create a fintech today. Because every new person, every new millennial who comes in today wants to really get banking on a smartphone rather than walking into a branch. And I think that's where the fintechs have really shaped up, really made a differentiation to banking as we look today. Because fintech is the next big thing, you see a lot of investment pouring in, and I think that's where the requirement of specialists in terms of professions and fintechs really gone up. We expect this industry to be close to about $50 billion as we start looking at it, with a growth of more than 20% year on year. So I think it's been a quite impressive kind of a industry it is growing. And any industry which grows requires a lot of professionals in this. And if you really look at the professional, and the core of the fintech is actually technology, so you really require a lot of tech manpower to make it happen. And if I were to name specifically, what kind of manpower that we look at, we require software developers, we require blockchain experts, we require machine learning, AI, deep learning experts, we require cybersecurity experts, we require data scientists, and most importantly, we got DevOps. So if you were to look at, I think these are the probably critical roles that are in high demand in the fintech space, and I think these are the roles which are really defining how fintech is really shaping up right now.
All right. And how has the fintech recruitment been, post-COVID, and which particular domains are in demand right now? You mentioned a couple of them, but let's try and understand that how is the situation after the pandemic?
I think the the post-pandemic I think the resource hiring has been. I mean, we have been into massive hiring, but what has happened is there's a gap between demand and supply. So you have a lot of demand because what has really happened is entire COVID. One industry that really did well in the entire space was the fintech, because I think that is one which really survived well. You saw huge numbers of businesses that happened across in the fintech space, and that's one business which survived. And also the realization that post COVID, the criticality and importance of fintech has made that the manpower, the tech resources in the entire fintech space is in high demand, right? And we see huge amount, especially if I were to look at software developers today are in very high demand, especially one who are with the trained manpower that we have is very high demand that we're looking at. We're looking at people who would be keen to look at, especially on the data scientist side. I think that's been a big, because data scientists in AI ML, I believe, has been a big thing in the fintech space. And I think salaries have literally doubled in this space. Post COVID, I think most of the fintech professionals' salaries have doubled. A huge amount of demand in the marketplace. I think that's been a big change in post COVID.
All right. So tell me, if an entrepreneur starts a fintech company, what should be his or her focus areas in terms of skills for manpower recruitment?
So whenever an entrepreneur, I would give my own example. When we started this company, the first resources that we hired was completely tech resource, because in terms of fintech, it's very important that we get our tech entire fundamentals right. And we did go about recruiting developers. We did go out getting people who were experts in cybersecurity. We did get people who were across in blockchain experts. So we did bring in. I think if you were to ask me who were the first people we hired, we hired software developers, and we hired people from data scientists. The two things that we really hired when we started this company. And then obviously followed by, you obviously need alliances, you need sales and all other stuff you need as the product gets ready. But I think the first thing that you really get is the tech people, and then probably provided after that, probably sales and business development people.
Okay. So if you had to name that, the highest paid tech job roles in fintech, and how can these people get into, these professionals actually can get into creating a great career path for themselves? If you could just elaborate onto this, Anand.
See, I think the highest paid today is a developer in our system, right? And as I said, the salaries have doubled post COVID. What we also see in the employees that we hire is also that apart from technical skills, should also have an ability to handle disruption, because especially in the fintech space, the technology is changing very fast, right? And someone who comes in just not with the technical knowledge, but also has an ability to be flexible, to be agile, to be adaptive. I think that's typically some of the qualities that we see even when we're hiring a developer into a system. And I think that's probably, especially in the fintech space, that's very important. You really can't have developers who are not adaptive or not flexible. I think that's very important, keeping in mind technology is changing very fast.
Wonderful. So, Anand, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. And I think elements and the data points that you've shared with us in terms of what are the key roles that will be driving the fintech industry and what are the major demands in terms of the profiles that will be in the fintech industry will really help our audience understand the crux of our conversation and the whole objective of facilitating the conversation to them, Anand. And the world as we know it is now changing every day at a breakneck speed, and economics and industries are coming together on virtual platforms and trading at a massive scale. At such a fast efficiency is winner, and fintech is the answer. So, this if you really, audience, if you really love challenges that may come with a lucrative pay, you can actually look into fintech right now. Right, Anand?
Absolutely, Sukriti. Absolutely, you're right in the point. And I think, and I could only say that, and our internal expectation is that this industry will be 300% increase especially in the fintech manpower recruitment the next 5 years. I think that's what we look at, because the industry is growing at 20%, which is close to 3%, three times the GDP right now. So I think there's a huge amount of growth. And you recently saw RBI talking about it in its annual report, saying the next phase of job growth will happen in the fintech space. So I think it's quite an exciting space, and all of them who really want to be part of it, the long growth journey, I think fintech is the place to be in.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you once again for doing this with us. Thank you for enlightening our audience with the right insights. Audience, hope you like this conversation. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned to TechGig for all the tech updates and happening. It's time for me to wrap up this show. Signing off. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Supreet. Thanks a lot.